Hello and welcome to Dicepunk, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 0, though, we've got something of a special treat, a one-shot in a game called Psionics, which is based on a system called, coincidentally enough, Dicepunk. Thanks for joining us. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me today are...
Hi, I'm Dez, and today I'll be playing Lane Drummond, an ersatz high school guidance counselor who's much better with knives and fire than anyone else's problems.
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Sam Stryker. Good to meet you, everybody. He, him pronouns, love my friends, love my grandparents, and I don't know, they've been mumbling the words telekinesis lately. Don't know why that's relevant. I like to lift.
Hi, I'm Joanne. I'll be playing Rue this session, a 7th grade little gremlin who uses they, them pronouns.
Hey everyone, I'm Robin. I'll be playing Nick Noble this session. You all may know me best by my extracurriculars, which include Student Council President, Vice President of the National Honor Society, and Treasurer of National Speech, Kendo Club, and Debate Association. Hold on just a moment, I need to use my inhaler.
The inhaler thing got me. It really got me.
I actually started gasping for breath, and I need everyone to know that was actually something that was happening as I was listing all the extracurriculars. I forgot how many there were.
Nick's really smart, but sometimes, gets excited.
I don't think I even finished the list.
Very accomplished student there. So, we're going to try to jump right in and mostly explain the rules and mechanics as we go, but a couple of little ground rules here. This is a game set in more or less the real world and more or less the modern day, only there are people called espers who have these phenomenal psychic powers, and those tend to manifest during adolescence, and they tend to be affected by emotional states. The setting for this particular one-shot is a somewhat atypical school, way out in the boonies somewhere in the broadly defined middle of America. It serves as sort of a magnet school for the children of families in kind of the rural farming communities in the general area, as well as kind of an alternative to juvie or reform school for some of the urban and suburban kids that end up going there. Very small school. It's K through 12, maybe 60 students, and pretty standard. Not a lot that stands out about it other than that some of the students live on campus and some others are sort of hosted by local families who are paid for their trouble there. Otherwise, some things to know about the system is it works with 6-sided dice, or D6. You roll 2d6 and try to roll under your attribute, or maybe your attribute plus a skill for the most part, and then in certain rolls you'll be trying to roll high, especially in combat. So we're going to see a lot of me prompting characters and players to make these particular kinds of rolls. I'll try to explain what's going on as we get there, but for the moment we're going to try to jump right in. So to set the scene, it is early October at the St. Daniel Academy, and things have settled in from the beginning of the year pretty well. Most of the action here is going to take place where our students are all concentrated, the 7th through 12th grade classroom building. But to give us a little bit of an overview of the general geography here, St. Daniel Academy and its grounds, as I said, host about 60 students in K through 12. There's maybe a dozen teachers, front office workers for both the K through 6 and the 7th through 12th grade buildings. There's a vice principal for each building. There's one guidance counselor who kind of handles all of this stuff, for all of the grades as necessary, although mostly the guidance counselor, for probably pretty understandable reasons, associates with the 7th through 12th grade building more than with the younger students, although, sometime with them as well. And then the principal is Chuck Knockan, and he sort of roams about, to the various places, spends a lot of time interfacing with the students. So the K through 6 classroom building and the 7th through 12th grade classroom building are on either side of like the main entrance and administrative offices. Behind that is the cafeteria, accessible via a breezeway. There's a playground and courtyard kind of surrounding and behind that stuff. And then all the way at the back, there's a gym/auditorium, and the whole property is surrounded by a chain link fence from the roadside all the way back to the front entrance, all the way back to the green space behind the gym. And there's one other building, a small dorm far off to the right if you're looking at it from the road. It's got room for more, but it really only houses about 10 students at any given time these days. There's like no trees, not a lot of landscaping, and the buildings themselves are like handsome enough red brick, but they're mostly kind of older and just reasonably well maintained. So, think of not a New England prep school level of polish and spit shine, but not particularly struggling here either, just kind of real middle of the road school with a slightly unusual or unique scenario. So we begin our sort of day of play, as it were, at the end of third period over here in the 7th through 12th grade building. The two 17-year-olds in our group, that is Samson Stryker and Nick Noble, are in Dr. DeSilva's history class, and the next thing that's going to happen is the 7th through 12th grade students are going to have their sort of middle of the class day break where you can kind of go hang out, get snacks, take a breather before you go in, at the same time that the younger kids are going to be going in for lunch. So you'll be kind of released to the courtyard and cafeteria area, playground, if you want to go compete with 6-year-olds for the monkey bars. But Dr. DeSilva teaches history and social studies. She's kind of a younger teacher, very enthusiastic, and she has quickly become, this is only her second year at the school, but she's quickly become kind of a student favorite. And today she is covering for the juniors and seniors who are in a kind of combined class because of the small student count here. She's covering some Bronze Age collapse stuff, about how Mycenae and the Old Kingdom in Egypt and the Hittites and all that ended up sort of vanishing from the world stage when the bell rings and you are dismissed to break. So I think this is going to be a really good time for us to kind of meet each of our characters. So I'm going to ask each of you in turn to give me just kind of a little sketch of what your characters are doing with their break time leaving the classroom. We'll start with Samson.
Well, I'll say that as the bell rings, I'm paying real close attention to Dr. Sill, which I call her. I don't remember if she said that's okay or not. Anyway, my tongue's sticking out of the side of my mouth in a classic figure of paying full attention. I've just written down mice and Ian with 6 question marks after it. Anyway, the bell rings. I go out. I brought a snack. It's homemade. It's a hand pie that my grandfather made. I whip it out. I take a bite and I look around to see if there are any friends kicking around.
All right. It probably wouldn't occur to Samson to say this, but you're a pretty big guy in terms of appearance. If you could give us just a quick sketch of what somebody sees when they look at Samson.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem there. Yeah, if you looked at me, you'd see the pie would look tiny in my hand because I'm 6'3", 250, love to lift, broad shoulders, corn silk hair, blinding blue eyes. The hair is like, I don't know, Henry Rollins short, pretty short. So I cut an impressive figure probably, and that's, I don't mean to brag, but I'm a strong guy.
All right. And so, perhaps last out of Dr. DeSilva's classroom would be Nick Noble here. So if you give us a little sketch of what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just going to go up to Dr. DeSilva and let her know what a great job she's doing and how fortunate we are to have her here at St. Daniel's on behalf of the entire student council, and if I can even be so bold, the entire student body. And I'm going to talk to her a little bit about the lesson plan, what I picked up from today, and what I thought was particularly interesting, and may not necessarily pick up on any social cues she's giving that tell me that she's not particularly keen on this conversation and wants to get back to lesson planning.
She actually does pull out like a bran muffin from her bag while you are talking to her, and she's going, "Oh yeah, oh, really interesting. No, palace at Mycenae, and yeah, and kind of just gets a word in edgewise here and there, and tries to keep up with you as she starts to snack, and then eventually starts to move toward the door.
Well, Dr. De Silva, I see that you're getting ready to enjoy lunch, so I guess I'll head out to break. I got some studying to do after all, and the big debate's coming up, so I have to make sure I'm all prepared for that, I guess.
Oh, well, I wish you the best of luck in the debate. I know you'll hit it out of the park. Have a good rest of your day, and I'm sure I'll see you, after school for any questions you've come up with in the interim.
What's our school mascot? Our school saying?
That is an extremely good question that I did not think to address. I'm gonna go with like the Cornhuskers.
Oh, jeez. So I can't say, like, have a husky day, because that sounds very strange. But whatever the equivalent is of war eagle.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there isn't one for this school. If you want to use something like that, you basically have to be trying to make it happen.
Do you like the Huskers do? Do you like the Hooskers do? I don't know.
All right, Dr. De Silva, make sure you do like the Huskers do.
She goes, oh, I sure will. I really hope that catches on, and hustles down the hallway back toward the administrative building. Although she's like smiling the whole time. She's not
such
like
an angel.
trying to escape.
What a great teacher. I apologize.
What a patient teacher.
From behind you, you hear a familiar voice say, I really don't know if that's going to catch on, though. You may want to try to come up with an alternative. And you turn around in time to see Vanessa Camberlin pushing her glasses up her nose and putting her books into her bag.
Vanessa, pleasure as always. How is that GPA looking in that 1000th place?
She gives you a very broad, not entirely genuine smile and says, good as ever. Yours?
Fantastic as ever. I actually signed up for an additional AP course, and as you know, you get a whole half point added to your GPA if you excel in those classes.
Yes, no, I do know. I'm in several already. It's so courteous of Dr. De Silva and a couple of the other teachers to meet with us after school for those, but I really hope we're not asking too much of them. In any case, I'm sure I'll see you at National Honor Society meeting later today, but you really should try to keep your crush on Dr. De Silva a little bit under wraps. And then she flips her hair and walks off.
Crush on Dr. De Silva? No, she is far too old for me. I pull out my inhaler and take a big,
If Vanessa hears you, she does not give any sign of it. Let's jump over to the other side of this hallway where, Rue, you have just gotten out of pre-algebra class. Take it away.
Cool. So, I'm not very visible usually, except that my hair is bright green and you see just a little spikiness bopping along with the rest of the students. And I'm going to go duck into a unoccupied corner and try to find a door to booby trap with one of my little firework poppers and tie it in the door, scare whoever opens it next.
I mean, this is not a super crowded learning institution, so probably not that difficult a task, but you should still roll a stealth check anyway.
Okay.
Congratulations on having the first roll.
Yay!
First roll!
All right.
Woo!
So that's rolling 2d6 and rolling under. And so my stealth is 8.
And then, yes, because that's going to be your speed attribute plus the 2 for your stealth skill being an expert.
I rolled a 4.
And that is indeed under. So yeah, nobody sees you as you booby trap the door into the classroom where your math teacher's next class, freshman geometry, is going to be held. Because, boy, was this a boring-ass math class. I mean, almost a tautology, but still.
All right, I'm going to hang around and see. I want to reap the reward of watching my teacher get spooked.
Mr. Brown comes out of the classroom that you just left from, and you are hanging out by the water fountain, sipping occasionally at the stream of water coming up from it, as he shifts all of his books and folders over to his left arm, takes his keys out, and unlocks the door of the classroom. And then when he grasps the handle, he goes to turn it, and pop! He jumps like 2 feet in the air, backwards a full 3 feet. All of his books and papers go everywhere, and he starts swearing loudly in the middle of the hallway until Principal Knockan leans out of the administrative office door and goes, "Everything okay out here?" And Mr. Brown goes, "Yes," and then heads in through the door.
All right, I'm going to scramble away. Leave the scene of the
Would you
crime.
Oh boy!
Is it weird that I'm picturing you crab walking? Like, I don't know why. Sideways.
I'm trying to stealthily skateboard away.
You have your skateboard on you in the hallway?
Of course.
Yeah, skateboard stays with me.
The math teacher is already in the classroom and does not particularly take note, but Principal Knockan is still leaning out of the door and sees you jump on the skateboard to head toward the exit to the courtyard and yells after you, "No skateboarding in the building, young lady. You should leave that in your locker."
I flip him the bird and try and get away.
He sighs really heavily, and you hear him shouting at somebody in the front office to go kind of discipline you, but you make it to the door and head outside before anybody catches up to you, although you're sure you'll hear about it later. All right, and so our last character to catch up with, what is Lane getting up to in the administrative offices as children go on their break?
Is there anyone who has an appointment with me, or is this just sort of open time?
Let me actually make the decision on the spur of the moment here that you actually have break duty. It is your job to go into the courtyard and watch the kids while they're on break so that the teachers can go caffeinate.
I will do that, and I will choose a different place to sort of watch from. That's not like, it's got a good point of visibility, but it's not something where any of the kids would like look to see me.
You go over to the sort of juncture where the breezeway splits towards the cafeteria door versus over towards the dormitory, and you kind of stand in that corner and kind of watch around, and you can see the elementary and middle school kids from the K through 6 building filing over to the cafeteria, from where you're standing. I think we got a decent idea from the descriptions of what Nick and Rue look like, but would you mind giving us just a brief description of Lane in his professional mode?
Sort of shortish, well enough dressed, like slacks button down sweater. He's got dark blue messy hair, and is kind of skinny, a little bit skittish.
Good deal. So probably hands in pockets, leaning against kind of the support, kind of looking around. The kids don't need that much supervision for the most part. There aren't that many of them at any given time, but you do sort of have just this a little bit of a sense that there's maybe going to be trouble in a moment. And you spy what you think is going to be the beginning of the problem. Michael Grady is walking over toward where the younger kids are filing into the cafeteria with an absolutely shit-eating grin on his face.
I will be moving toward that.
Yeah, you've had Michael in your office a few times for disciplinary reasons, where he was referred to the counselor, and he's a real piece of work. He's just always mad at something, seems to have had kind of a crummy home life, but now that he's away from it, just kind of seems to be taking out his frustrations on everybody else, especially if they're smaller than he is. And I will
try to move it so that I am in his field of view, if not anyone really else's.
You angle over there. He sort of sees you coming and kind of curls his lip and jams his hands in his pockets, but he keeps heading toward this lunch line, despite kind of seeing you on an interception path. I think this would be a good time for you to kind of make an unassisted roll here to see if you pick up on a couple of details here. So that's just going to be 2 points 2d6 checking against your 8 points of wits.
7.
7 is under 8. As you get closer, you can see that Michael's pupils are unusually dilated and his eyes a little bit bloodshot. It's not the first time you've seen him high at school, although you're not sure precisely what it is he's on this time. He sort of sets his teeth in kind of a grimace and looks kind of belligerent as he approaches you.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Worse now that you're here. What, did the principal send you to talk to me again about my emotional issues or whatever?
No. I saw you heading with purpose towards, well, people you could assert yourself at.
I always got to assume stuff. As it happens, and he looks kind of around you for a second, and goes, I let Jeremy there borrow some snack money from me yesterday, and I was just going to go get what he owes me so that I could buy a snack today. If you got a problem with that?
Is he looking at me like he's at all trying to be plausible in his lie?
Not really, no.
How about we go get you a snack, Michael?
God, I should have. No, it's fine. I'm good. And he throws his hands up and walks away over toward a bench where he sits down and starts rifling through his bag.
As he's walking away from me, I'd like to just cool his temperature a bit.
Okay, so I am assuming, based on your phrasing here, that this is a use of pyrokinesis to change his temperature.
Oh, yes.
All right. So in this case, I believe this is going to
So
be...
I'm looking for, I believe, 11 or under?
Yes, the wits plus talent level. Your talent level in pyrokinesis is 3, so that's 11. Pretty good odds of success.
That's a 10.
All right.
It's a good thing I'm good at this.
Right. Yeah, so how much are you cooling him by?
Enough that he probably won't connect it to, like, anything outside. Just, like, dread or something makes him feel cold, maybe.
Mm-hmm. He sort of sits down. He looks a little pale and peaked, and rifles through his bag. He pulls a ratty hoodie out of it and stuffs his arms into it before he pulls out a somewhat battered cell phone and starts tapping away at it. About this time, everybody who was headed to the courtyard has arrived, maybe even gotten your snacks. Any of the other players getting up to anything else in particular with their 15 minutes of break time?
Sam has been savoring the meat pies, so he's just finished his third one. He's thinking about a fourth. He's got it in his hand. He's staring at it. It's supposed to be for later, but he really wants it right now. Table talk. Is Nick coming to the courtyard, or has Nick got some kind of extracurricular going on?
Nick is going to be studying in the courtyard.
Okay, so I'm gonna say right as I put the entire fourth pie in my mouth, I see Nick, and I go, Nick.
I look around because it's not an uncommon thing for people to call my name. I am the student council president, and I spot Sam and kind of give him a big grin and saunter on over and say, "Hey, Sam, how are you doing?"
I'm doing real good. I've been thinking about the mice, though. Like, they weren't the kings, right? They just lived there. Like, it's not like, you know.
It takes me a moment to realize what he is saying, and to my credit, my smile doesn't waver in the slightest, and I go, oh yeah, and then I gently correct him and provide, like, some clarification, because this is a teachable moment. It's an opportunity for both of us to grow together.
I am genuinely grateful. In fact, I whip out my my notebook. I probably get a little bit of pie grease on it, but that's fine. And I scratch some stuff out, and I'm clearly correcting the record. I say, that makes so much more sense. Thank you.
Anytime, Sammy. Can I call you that? Is that all right?
That's incredible. No one's ever called me that. I love it. I love it.
You're cool, Sammy.
You're cool too, Nick. Real cool. Real cool. The coolest. And so smart.
How long have you two known each other?
I'm going to say we spoke for the first time weeks ago. Not long. Like, this is... I mean, we probably came up together, right? So we've been in the same orbit, but I think we've only been talking this much, which is making Sam real happy for a brief amount of time.
This is the first meaningful conversation, I think, for both of us.
Yep. And it's very meaningful to Sam. I want to make that clear.
So, Rue, you are skateboarding out of the building, having watched your prank go off without a hitch. Most people's attention in the courtyard is drawn to a shouting match that erupts near the entrance to the cafeteria among the elementary and middle schoolers. Somebody has apparently scuffed somebody else's shoe, and it's gotten really dramatic. The sole adult on duty's attention is required, so... Lane, you're kind of pulled away for a moment, to go calm tempers among 7-year-olds over here.
I will go do that.
And it's pretty routine, just like, all right, apologize for scuffing your shoe. I know it was an accident, but, just all that good stuff with you with little kids. But about halfway through, you hear Michael shout, "What the fuck?" And then there is a concussive blast accompanied with a tremor from a tremor through the ground that actually launches some dust into the air.
Well, shit.
And everybody kind of whips around to look at Michael at this point. He is floating. His eyes are rolled back in his head, and he is emitting pulses of energy that are drumming up sort of dust and leaves from the ground. And sort of everybody goes scrambling. Teachers and administrators are running out of the building and then running right the hell back in. Everybody in the elementary school line has started to surge toward the cafeteria. Any immediate actions from our players?
I'm going to pull the fire alarm.
Nick, you start running over to the building to pull the fire alarm nearest the front office. I think, actually... that this is going to be a good time to pull something in here. You have to take a hit from your inhaler when you get there before you could pull the fire alarm. So just keep a tally of the number of hits that you've taken, because we are not sure how many hits in Nick's inhaler we have left.
And that's two hits so far already.
Yeah. All right, so Nick runs off to the fire alarm. Sam, anything in particular that you do in response to this?
Oh, my first thought's going to be going straight to the guy who's in trouble. First aid's going to be my thought. I don't know what to do about floating, but I'm sure I'll figure it out when I get there. So I run directly toward.
So you turn toward Michael and start to take a couple of steps. But you see that the bench has been splintered. The supports for the breezeway are bending. And as you watch, one of your classmates, a guy named Jake, sort of tries to go grab Michael and gets flung about the speed of interstate traffic into a wall, leaving a blood spatter and some cracked bricks, and just slumps to the ground near the school building. These pulses are starting to come faster, and you are almost to the edge of where they are kicking up dust.
Okay, new plan. I'm going to back off. I'm also gonna.
So
I mean, there is somebody else who could now use some first aid.
yeah, Sam sort of like does a false start towards Michael. Rue, any particular reaction to this?
I'm gonna go throw fireworks at him, or like my little popping fireworks at him, because Michael Grady is a shithead and he deserves everything that is happening to him right now.
Excellent. So let me see. I don't know that there's a specific skill I would use for throwing poppers. So just
I have
roll,
an explosives.
I don't think this really is that.
There is a
though.
throwing
Don't
weapon.
really
thing.
explode.
So I would just say roll against your speed attribute, which is 6. So
Okay.
2d6, try to get 6 or under on that.
I got a 9, I got a 9.
You sort of grab just like a loose handful of sawdust and poppers and hurl them at Michael Grady. They meet an outgoing wall of force and all immediately pop midair. And in fact, some of the sawdust and the grit that's inside of them to make them ignite comes like flying back towards you, like rub it out of your eyes. So with those initial reactions out of the way, the fire alarm is going off. Principal Knockan has
I
sprinted.
assume I'm aware of this.
Oh yes, sorry, I forgot that you didn't get a reaction. Please, by all means, any reaction.
I've encountered this at least once before, yeah?
Not directly,
No?
but you know what it is.
Okay. Do I know how to stop it?
Short of tranquilizers, no.
Well, shit. Don't think I have any tranks, just some...
Water. So I was gonna say, Principal Knockan, sort of sprints out of the building and starts shouting for everybody to head to their 4th period classroom and lock down. Follow lockdown procedures in your 4th period classroom. Go now, go! And he sort of gestures to Lane to like get the elementary kids out of the cafeteria and back to the class building.
I will start shepherding them and like reassuring and like all of the shushing nonsense that is required.
Okay, yeah, you start herding and shushing, and oh, it's all right. We're gonna go this way. Oh, it's okay. We're gonna get out of here. It's gonna be all right. But towards the back of the line, you notice something a little bit amiss. A little girl named Bonnie is crying profusely, and you notice that her tears are flashing to steam on her face as she cries. The air around her is beginning to shimmer.
Shit. I will take her aside and say that everyone else needs to go to their class. I need to have a chat with Bonnie.
When she hears her name, she starts crying harder, and you can see the hairs, ends of her hair coming down to about her shoulders, start to curl and singe. You can smell burning hair.
Can I, like, lower her temperature, too, to stop this shit?
You may certainly try.
All right. That is a 9. It is a good thing I'm good at this shit.
Indeed, yeah, it would be hard for you to fail an unpenalized roll on just basic stuff here. Oh, I forgot to mention last time too, and this is for the benefit of our listeners as much as anything. When an Esper uses their psionic abilities, they use power points to fuel them, and they gain overflow. Which is, progress towards sort of having an overload state where they can no longer control their abilities. So in this case, in the last couple of minutes, you have spent 6 power points and gained 6 overflow, as well as 3 non-lethal drain damage from using pyrokinesis abilities. The drain damage goes away slowly, the overflow goes away quickly. Will address how much you've actually sort of dispensed with of the overflow that you've gained once we're kind of in real time again, for the sake of just keeping things flowing here. But it goes away 1 point per combat or 6 points per minute out of combat. And so you have to kind of be using your powers pretty quickly to max it out. Or, as we are discovering here mechanically, you can gain bursts of overflow gauge from strong emotion. So while Lane is seeing to Bonnie, it is likely that, Sam, you have gotten over to where Jake has fallen after having been thrown by Michael. You had to take the long way around to stay out of the radius of, Michael's insane, wave force orbit here.
While I'm running toward Jake, I'm probably also trying to talk Michael down. I'm saying, Mike, stop pulsing, buddy. You're not helping out by pulsing. It would be really good if you could stop pulsing, but I'm also making my way toward Jake.
He gives no sign of hearing you, but that does not stop you. So go ahead and roll against your wits for first aid.
Okay, for the record, my wits are 6.
Yep.
That is a 5.
Okay.
Nice.
When you get to Jake, he does have a pulse. It is rapid and erratic. You can tell that there are some broken bones. You're not entirely sure if you can really bind up. He's bleeding from the head, as well as a lot of scratches on his back and arms. You don't really have anything to do with that. So instead, you try to make sure that he is laid level, and that his breathing is regular, and that the wound on his head has some compression. You kind of pull a strip off of his shirt and tie it over there so that it's maybe not bleeding as much. He's in a pretty bad way, definitely concussed, maybe brain damage, definitely some broken bones, hopefully no organ damage.
I say good news, buddy. No back injury.
Is he conscious?
No, he is not conscious. He's not conscious, as noted by the lack of screaming when you moved him. Okay. Let's see. Lane, you were trying to calm down Bonnie here. I think that's going to be... since this is your profession, a wits roll, but I'm going to assess it at a penalty because you're not actually really trained for this.
I'm really not trained for this.
Yeah, so you're trying to roll under a 6.
Okay. That is a 4.
All right. You sort of managed to talk her down a little bit. You managed to cool her down a little bit while you're talking her down. It doesn't look like she's going to go, sort of critical here. You are still nervous about having her in a classroom with other kids.
Yup.
So, is there anywhere in particular you think you would like to take her?
Probably just my office to talk and cool off for a bit. Just abandoning the rest of you.
Yeah, you full on pick her up and start across the courtyard on the other side of it towards your office. Kind of, holding her and kind of, telling her it'll be all right. And you're halfway there when you hear another detonation sound from the elementary school. You are starting to see some of the flaws with this academy's design.
For fuck's sake.
Principal Nakan has gone back into the office in the meantime. Quick, since we haven't heard from you guys in a moment, Nick first and then Rue, anything in particular that you guys are getting up to while the rest of this is going on?
Well, as the student council president, I feel like I need to be in the heat of things, so I'm going to rush back out to the courtyard and make sure that there's no one there that needs my assistance while also reciting the 7 virtues of Bushido to myself.
Right.
What?
I don't know.
You get to number...
For those who are curious, they are integrity, respect, heroic courage, honor, compassion, honesty and sincerity, duty and loyalty. Some of those obviously count as one. I read a book on it once.
If Sam can hear any of that, he gives double guns. He's very on board.
He very much cannot, but he might give double guns anyway.
In his heart, he's always given double guns.
Yeah. For what it's worth, as you are heading back out, Principal Nakan sees you, grabs your shoulder, and goes, Nick, I need you to get anyone other than Michael who's still in the courtyard and corral them into a classroom. Any classroom, just bring them with you back to Dr. De Silva's room if you need to. Hurry, go.
Happily, Principal. Kind of give him a small salute and a grin and take off again.
Rue.
I am, at the moment, tying a Roman candle to an RC helicopter that I keep in my backpack. And getting ready
You really are a little gremlin.
to light it up and start flying it around, shooting Michael with Roman candles.
I feel like I remember you getting this little remote control helicopter from your drive skill. Is that correct?
Probably. I don't know.
All right, well, let's have you roll that then.
Oh, damn it. Okay. My drive, I'm trying to roll under 8.
Yeah.
I got a 5.
All right.
Nice.
You strap this Roman candle. So you've been doing this the whole time everything has been going on.
Yeah.
You've gotten it tied up. You've gotten the helicopter like folded out and turned on and kind of like test flown. You light up the Roman candle and you fly it over toward Michael and you start shooting little Roman candles out. The recoil plays merry hell with your helicopter. And you fire the first one towards Michael, and it gets knocked away by one of his pulses into just the grass in the courtyard. The second one is already off target because of the recoil from the Roman candle, and it bounces off a window and into the shrubbery.
Oop.
And they go further and further awry from there. Like, you're piloting the helicopter well, but it's just not built for this. You've just added to the chaos here, but probably you don't mind that much.
No, I think this is very fun.
And so this is probably about the time that Nick's surveying the courtyard. The only people still in it are Rue, Sam, Jake, and Michael. Order of operations here for you in terms of corralling.
So Rue's the one closest to the danger, right?
Yes, currently.
I'm gonna shout, Sammy, get that kid inside! And probably a classroom as well. Kind of giving
You shout out
direction.
Dr. De Silva's room because that's where you're headed anyway.
Okay,
so.
perfect. And then I'm gonna go, hey kid, to Rue.
Yeah? What do you want, nerd?
I mean, I think that's a phrase complimenting my intelligence, so thank you, but we gotta get out of here, kid.
Yeah, I was going to go whoom, whoom in the background while you're deflecting the nerd insult.
Yeah, I yell no gods, no masters as I run away and with you.
All right. So Sam, you sort of start carefully trying to move Jake, kind of out of harm's way and into the door on the other end of the hallway here to get back to Dr. De Silva's classroom. From the other end of the hall, you can actually hear more screaming and kind of more loud noises. And right about the time the classroom door closes behind the four of you, you actually hear a very different sound that probably only Sam would definitely recognize as a gunshot. If not a particularly close one.
I
Yes?
go hunting with my dad a lot. And
I did not pull up your character sheet to look, but you would definitely recognize it too. You have that rifle skill. Yeah.
I want to say Nick and I look right at each other because we both grok what's going on.
Dr. De Silva is corralling everybody into the room and being like, out of sight of the doors and windows, over on this wall, just, sit down, huddle together, please stay calm, we're gonna be okay, I know it's scary, and just kind of like keeping up a patter of these instructions as you go, and you can hear Principal Knockan's voice from down the hall, kind of like shouting instructions at people who are still going. You can also hear doors kind of moving. It's kind of just chaos. And everything is kind of going wild. About this time, you also start to hear a helicopter approaching.
An actual helicopter.
Yes, an actual helicopter, not just the RC one, which I will say you did kind of collect. You steered it over towards you as you were running and kind of grabbed, and you have it with you. Lane. By this time, you are back in your office with Bonnie. She's kind of calming down. She's crying still, but no longer evaporating the tears as they roll down her cheeks. And you can hear kind of the commotion in the office behind you, and you can hear Principal Knockan as he sticks his head, in through the door and says,
What? 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 What?
Lane, if you got a student in there, they need to go into a lockdown room. I need you with me. Pronto.
Okay. I will tell Bonnie that she needs to go into... Is there... Can she just stay in my office? Is that like a safe place?
Not really, because she won't be supervised once you're not in there.
Fair. I will shuttle her toward one of the rooms that actually will be supervised.
She gets put into Mr. Brown's room where he was getting ready to teach geometry, and now just has kind of a random assortment of students, especially from the 7th to 12th grade building in there, all sort of huddling together. You also notice that the door 2 down and across the hall is like rattling on its hinges. As you see her to safety, but Principal Knockan is already back kind of in the middle of the hallway gesturing you, come on.
I'm with him.
Yeah. When you get to him, he's striding briskly back toward the office. He goes, all right, look, I have called in some help. I'm sure you're confused. It's okay. There's going to be time to explain later. But what I desperately need you to do is I need you to head to the dorms and make sure that anybody who is in the dorms stays there. I need you to, on your way, stop in the office, call 911, and just tell them that this is St. Daniel Academy. We have a code 2. That's all they'll need to hear. Once you're done with that, head to the dorms. Capiche?
Understood.
All right. And he tears off. You're not entirely sure where. It looks like he's just heading to the courtyard. But, kind of through a different entrance a little bit away from Michael Grady. Okay, so you've just been instructed, Lane, to go call 911, tell them there's been a code 2 at St. Daniel Academy, and Principal Knockan has dashed off back toward the other side of the courtyard from where Michael is currently combusting, kinda?
Cavitating?
Sure. So, you also have standing instructions, as it happens, from other sources about what to do in a situation like this that also involve the phone.
Yep. I go execute those.
Yeah, so you head to the office. I guess the important part is, are you calling in the 911 code as well, or are you just calling your...
My instructions don't address that, do they?
They do not. They were minimal.
Given that I know what's happening, I am not calling the cops.
All right. So instead, you call a number that you were made to memorize before you took this job, just a long distance, number hash of digits, and it rings twice and then is picked up by a switchboard that does not give any particular answer. You give the code phrase, hell has unfrozen. And then hang up as instructed. And then your instructions are going to send you over to the dorm shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Back to our students in Dr. De Silva's classroom. She has gotten everybody kind of put over to one side. You have heard several more gunshots. You can also hear screaming from elsewhere in the school, and the sort of tremors through the ground have not ceased. But there seems to be maybe more than one source of them now.
I raise my hand and go, quietly whisper, Dr. De Silva.
She does not hear you, but she does eventually see your hand and goes, what is it, Nick?
Oh, a polite suggestion, if I may. Could we transition over to the evacuation protocol as opposed to the lockdown, given the circumstances? I recall in the... what is the name of the school again?
St. Daniel
St.
Academy.
Daniel's, yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart. I recall in the St. Daniel's Academy handbook that under certain circumstances, lockdown may be abandoned if it increases the likelihood of loss.
She nods. She says, yes, well, we'll certainly have to assess. I'm trying to make sure everyone's okay now. And then her attention is called away by another student. And Vanessa leans up kind of like over your shoulder and goes, it's St. Daniel Academy, not St. Daniel's Academy, ignoramus. And then leans back and crosses her arms and glares at you.
Rue looks at her and says, wow, an even bigger nerd.
She gives you this look.
Yes, Vanessa is very intelligent, and I'm always grateful to have her around to keep me accountable.
She looks smug. Sam?
They're both real smart, is my first response. So my in-world question, how big is Dr. Sill's desk? Is it a better place to lay Jake out than the floor would be?
Almost certainly, yes.
All right, so I'm gonna ask Dr. Sill to clear that off so we can give this guy a proper laydown. I'm talking to Jake the whole time. I'm telling him to stay calm. I'm maybe aware he's unconscious, but that does not stop me.
She is like handling like students that aren't hers and like aren't in this building normally, and like trying to take account and like let the administration know who she has, and she literally just goes, "Yeah, sweep it all onto the floor. It's fine."
Yeah, I go and sweep it onto the floor like a cat.
I also assist and kind of look at Sam and go, Sammy, just so you know, I'm trained in some first aid thanks to my Boy Scout history.
You are so good at so much. You always impress me. All right. I haven't said what kind of bag I have, but I have meat pies with me. So presumably I have I'm going to say I have a dorky little backpack that looks really small on my giant body. So I prop that under Jake's head.
You managed to rest his head not on the small grease stain from the meat pies. And you get him on the desk. About this time, the helicopter noises have stopped. And you know, in addition to a couple more of those longer distance gunshots, you hear the front doors being burst open. And the vibrations from outside in the courtyard where Michael was cease. Dr. De Silva looks around. She has her head count. She's like tapping on her phone. She goes, "All right, Nick, Vanessa, Sam, you take care of Jake. The two of you, I need you to help me. Nick, I think you're right. I think we probably need to evacuate. If we can get these windows open or break them safely, we can go out that way. But if not, we're going to have to go out the end of the hall and probably head around to the gymnasium. I think it's pretty far away from things. We're not really supposed to be doing this, but it seems like the situation's changed, and I don't even know. Well, I don't know if we're going to get more word from Principal Nakan. So I think we need to head out and around. See if we have clear lines. Don't expose yourself to danger. But I'm going to be trying to keep everybody calm and in order. I'm going to check the hallway. So please, be careful and shout out if you need me." And she heads towards the classroom door.
I am going to pull the baseball bat out of the backpack that is fully half the size of my body and walk over to smash a window.
Yeah, good idea, kid. What was your name again?
It's Rue.
Rue, cool name. Just cover your eyes and make sure that you. Oh, there's
Don't worry,
nothing in the protocol
I've done
book
this
about
before.
Amazing. All right, so this is just a straight strength check, so you're rolling 4 or under.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. I rolled a 9.
You drop the bat from all of the vibrations that resonate back through it when the window doesn't even look scratched.
Oh, jeez.
I walk over to help. First I say, "Kid, you seem real cool. Thanks for clearing off the desk. That was a real stand-up thing to do. Can I help out?"
I mean, I don't need it, but yeah, you can give it a try.
I'm honored. Thanks. I pick up the bat, which is not half the size of my body.
No.
I give that thing a good swing at the window.
All right, so if you're just rolling your clubs skill, that's going to be an 8 or under on 2d6.
So I have a skill called Batter Up. I'm going to have to check whether it actually concerns bats. I don't think it does. It's when you so what it says for our listeners is when armed with a two-handed weapon, you can spend a full turn action to make a melee attack at -2 to hit. Treat your strength as twice that it actually is to determine the damage of this attack.
So this is not a melee attack.
Okay, because the window
so it
is
doesn't
not an
really
enemy.
apply.
I understand.
Right, it's not dodging. It doesn't have a defense rating. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So sorry, this is just a regular strength roll. Let the record show that Sam's strength is 8. Yeah. That's 8.
All right. You swing with a tremendous might. You strike the window squarely in the middle where it should have the sort of most effect, if not the most safety considerations. They tell you to break it near the upper corner and then clear the glass out, but Sam doesn't really know that. And the bat snaps 2/3 of the way down near the top of the handle, and the window just sort of... It is not made of glass.
My bat.
I am so sorry about your
Cracked in
bat.
half.
We learned something really important about that window, though. It's made of, like, mega glass.
At this point, you are all of your attention is drawn away from the window because Dr. De Silva has sort of like leaned out carefully, like around the door, and you hear from pretty close by 2 loud cracks of gunfire. And she comes staggering back into the room with like kind of blood all over her face. And her glasses missing. And she pulls the door closed behind her as she kind of stumbles in.
All right, everyone, we need to stack furniture against this door right now.
Gotcha.
That sounds like a job for Sam.
Sam has got a desk in each hand before.
Yeah.
Who starts just like pushing chairs.
Yeah, the rest of the students in the class are also kind of helping. Vanessa has taken it upon herself to direct rather than to move furniture with her own 2 hands.
Can I tend to Dr. De Silva and make sure she doesn't need any immediate first aid?
You sure can. So there is, at first it looks really bad. There is a lot of blood on her face. So roll first aid for me, which is going to be 8 or under for you.
Yes. I got 6 and a 2 and 8.
That is,
right.
I would like to say that is exactly what I got when I just got an 8. So
Wow.
So you look real quick, and you are sort of immediately what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit like dazed here. She has 2 separate bullet wounds on her face. Both of them graze just under her eye on her cheek, one here and one kind of just below it, and take a little bit of skin off of her nose. Neither of them were direct enough hits. It would seem that they basically took her glasses with them and did very little damage otherwise. Like, I'm sure it hurts, but she's maybe going to have some scars and is otherwise pretty okay for having been shot twice. So you start kind of putting pressure on it, and she, is like, the window, is it open? We need to get out of here in the hallway.
The window is not breakable. We tried with a baseball bat, and it just reverberated. Did we try to open the window?
It doesn't. There aren't latches.
Sam's face goes from "that's a really good idea" to "aw" really quickly.
Yeah, Vanessa is actually the one who goes, "They don't open. There aren't even latches."
Can I try to like heat and melt the window?
You can.
Okay. I think that they know that they can do some weird shit.
That's where Sam's at too, for the record, right? Yeah, knows that some weird stuff's going on, but has no name or words for it.
That's also where Nick is. However, it gives him extreme guilt because it stands to undermine much of his accomplishments, so he tries to ignore it.
Ooh. That's on brand.
So that's 10.
So I think for an inanimate object, that actually translates to a couple 100 degrees Celsius.
Hell yeah.
Because you're not heating a body in this case. So go ahead. You 3 power points, 3 overflow, 1 drain.
Okay.
And the acrylic or whatever it is in the windows does start to sort of like warp and bend a little bit. I think probably at this stage the only one to notice that is going to be Vanessa. She sort of goes, but she doesn't say anything about it. She doesn't seem to know exactly what's happening. So at this time, you guys are actually hearing like a lot of gunshots and a lot of screaming from other parts of the building. And Principal Nakan chooses this moment to come over the intercom and say, "Attention students, faculty, and others, please. I know this is frightening, but stay where you are. We have a plan in place. We are executing the plan. You will be safe. Please stay where you are." At that moment, the classroom door shudders with an impact from the other side.
Kind of sounds like there's no plan and we should get out of here.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like Principal Gockknocker is and Rue cuts herself, themselves off.
You are hilarious, and your name makes me hungry. All right, maybe we'll have a better shot with the wall than the window. Oh, wait a minute! Is something weird happening to the window? Am I noticing anything with the window now? Like, do I like? Is it?
If you turn your attention back to it, yeah, you are noticing that one pane is like warping, and kind of like seems to have like some shimmering heat coming off of it. If you want, Rue, you can spend another round and 3 more power points in overflow, and 1 more drain, heating this another roll's worth of degrees Celsius to heat.
Okay, so that time I got 14.
Okay, so at this time there's a spot in the upper corner of it that goes just kind of like curls black and then starts to melt, and the whole thing starts to kind of like give, and it pops out of its frame as it warps too much. And at this point, I'm guessing that Sam's move is going to be basically just like shove it, now that it's kind of free of its frame.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to not touch it, though. I'm going to use, in the rule book, it's called TK push. Sam would not know that. He would think of it as lifting it without touching it because it's a hot thing.
Right. So in your case, your telekinesis skill is 3, so that's going to be 3 power points, 3 overflow, 1 drain. And as this thing starts to come free of its sort of mounting in the window, it seems to just get like punched, from the inside. It flies out across the courtyard that it faces into, and slams into the side of the cafeteria some 200 feet away, and just stays there, having embedded itself slightly in the crumbling brick. You can see now, like as you start ushering people out of the window, and Dr. De Silva is like, dabbing blood off of her face and like squinting at things. She's like, "All right, everyone, please, out of the window, one at a time. Help anybody who's having trouble. We're gonna head for," and she looks out of the window and sort of squints and leans to Rue and goes, "Is that smoke coming from the gym?" There is smoke coming from the gym.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Wait, no, shit.
Dr. Silva.
Yeah, shit.
Yes. I agree with the sentiments here, but I think the next stop after the gym is the bus yard.
She looks around and she sees something, actually, because you're right by the window. She sort of sees something. She goes, "I think we're going to have to go to the dorm instead. The bus yard seems like it's not safe at the moment." As people are sort of hustling out the window, she kind of, "Everybody look straight ahead, proceed to the sidewalk, and then as quickly across the courtyard as you can towards the dormitory. Eyes in the front, down even. Oh God." And as you guys come up to the window, you can see Michael is laid out in the courtyard. His chest is riddled with bullet holes. He's bleeding from the eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. He is very dead. So, you guys trooping out of the window, heading over to the dorm. sorry to abandon Lane for this classroom escape thing, but
That's okay. It was important.
you are most of the way to the dormitory, having made your call when the pandemonium really breaks out in the classroom building. But it is maybe unsurprising, as you have just seen a black military helicopter land in the sort of front circle of the school's sort of drive up and start disgorging probably a dozen men in armed men in tactical gear. And
No problems here.
they've started rushing into the administrative building. Seems like that's not going to be a safe place for much longer. So, those of you who have escaped Dr. De Silva's classroom and are heading across the courtyard, if you look ahead, will actually see your guidance counselor, sort of moving across the space towards the dorm. It's actually like a fair distance. The dorm is separated
Adam, I'm
from the
being
school by
stealthy.
one. You're being stealthy?
They may or may not see me.
Okay, that's possible. There's also not a ton of cover, but go ahead and roll, and we'll just see.
I'm having so much joy picturing you sneak in like flat, open ground.
Yeah, it's mostly just grass with some sidewalk.
Blue hair, professor's clothes, but I rolled a 5 out of 11.
Tiptoe.
Okay, so you are sort of like this version of stealth is not like full concealment. It's more like taking not the direct path and kind of staying out of likely sight lines and moving
And aggressive nonchalance.
Yeah, quickly, but not with a lot of like additional movement. That said, it is still possible that if anybody does look at you, they'll see you moving over that way. And right about like you're probably like 50 feet from the front door of the dorm when a cadre of about 5 of these armed men burst out of the front door of the dorm, weapons at the ready, and almost simultaneously the door out of the administration building into the courtyard, back where you came from, but fairly close to where our students are moving with their teacher and classmates, bursts open, and another 3 of these armed guards come out, weapons at the ready. Any immediate reactions to seeing this?
Are they looking at me, or are they like sweeping?
So the 5 who have just emerged in front of you, 2 on either side are sort of like, surveying the area. The one in the middle has like readied his weapon in your direction, but has not yet done anything else, apparently waiting for confirmation.
I will raise my arms.
Mm-hmm. Reactions from the other side of the open space here, where 3 armed guards have just similarly burst out, weapons at the ready.
What are they looking at us?
The 2 on either side are scanning the area. The one in the middle has readied his weapon in the direction of your group.
I haven't actually said this, but I obviously took Jake with me when we left the classroom. So is there a safe place to put him down? Reasonably?
I mean, the ground, the sidewalk, a bench.
Yeah, if there's a bench, I'm gonna take a moment and put Jake down.
Okay. Yeah, you set Jake down on the bench. Okay, so Lane, hands up. Sam sets Jake down. Nick, Rue, anything in particular?
I'm gonna pull a Molotov cocktail out of I'm gonna pull the stuff for a Molotov cocktail out of my bag and start making it.
I don't know what she's doing.
Small child with death wish.
But I see her digging through her bag and know that's not a good thing to do in this situation, and quickly step in front of them and raise my hands.
Yeah.
I keep saying she, and I apologize. I don't think Nick knows in character yet your preferred pronouns.
These armed guards finish their little sweep and immediately train their weapons, sort of bullpup rifles, on your group. Dr. De Silva is, sort of hands up and says, "I'm just taking the children to safety. We're not a threat, and please, if you could tell us what's going on." And everybody takes kind of some action, whether hiding behind somebody else or like hands up or like cringing, right? Something or other. And the lead guy coming out of the classroom building sort of listens on his earphone. It wouldn't necessarily be obvious to you, Lane, but it is at the same moment that the middle guy of year 5 sort of hand to his ear, and one nod, and then a hand gesture of sort of pointing up with 2 fingers and then forward with 2 fingers, and the 3 guards and the 5 guards all open fire.
On us?
This would be a good time for initiative.
Okay.
That's not acceptable.
So initiative is 2d6 plus will, is that right?
Speed.
Plus twice
It's
your speed.
on your character sheet, so 2d6 plus double your
Gotcha.
speed.
Okay.
So I capped out my initiative.
Nice.
17 for me.
Mine is actually 14 because I forgot to double my speed.
26.
18.
So that's Lane first, unsurprisingly. You sort of have a moment to act before any lead starts flying. You can see the intent to fire here.
Yeah. With Pyrokinesis 3, I have a Melt Aura.
You do.
I will be turning that on.
All right. I believe
And probably stepping between group of dickweeds in front of me and the children.
Yeah, they are the children are fair ways away from you. You are kind of the only person in immediate danger from them.
Oh, then I will angle bullets away from the children. And also probably draw my scalpels.
All right. So that's 2 power points, 1 drain, 2 overflow points, which, by the way, you've had enough time for your previous overflow points to go away, but the drain stays. And you activate your Melt Aura, which for our listeners, pyrokinetics are impervious to a certain amount of heat damage, and Melt Aura allows them to convert incoming bullet attacks into heat damage. So you will be taking, I want to say, like 10 points, I think, less damage if you do get hit. And you've got your scalpels out, 1 in either hand, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Next up is Rue.
Okay. Yeah, can I throw a Molotov cocktail into this crowd of jerks?
Boy, can you. So I am
Please
going...
clear me.
So, I think I can. Let me see. I have written down that it does 4d6 damage.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be as simple as an explosives attack roll, but I am trying to look that up just to make sure.
Targets within 1 yard of ground zero take full damage. Targets 2 yards away take only 2d6, and targets 3 yards away take only 1d6. So from where I throw it, anybody further than 3 yards are unaffected. All targets damaged this way are on fire and take 1d6 fire damage per turn unless extinguished with a successful speed check and full turn action.
Go,
like
Rue.
the,
So I am
emphasis on are on
so
fire.
excited to set some dudes on fire.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so this is actually using the throwing weapons combat skill, it says here in the rulebook. So I think you got the Molotov cocktail from having your explosives, though. So let's have you roll probably speed, and then we were going to add your explosives, like master rank, to that. Basically let you use that skill instead. But associating it with speed instead of wits, if that makes sense.
So I'm trying to roll under 10.
10.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
a
very
4.
kind of
I
you.
got a 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So you lob it over Nick.
Yay.
And because you're sort of obscured behind Nick when you throw it, they don't immediately see it. They're also like sighting down their guns and not fully situationally aware. For our listeners here, I have been through actually quite a bit of active shooter training in my day job, and one of the phrases you'll hear here is OODA loop. Your observe, orient, decide, act. They are kind of experiencing some tunnel vision here, and they do not see the Molotov cocktail flickering and arcing towards them. So you get to roll 4d6 damage on these poor hapless bastards.
Listen to those beautiful dice.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I rolled pretty poorly, but that is still a 12.
Okay. 12 times 3, and they are on fire. It's really fun to watch. Like, this thing arcs. It hits right at the feet of the middle one, and there's this nice shatter sound, and then whoosh, and all of a sudden flames everywhere. They start just kind of like firing a little bit wildly as they flinch back when you have fingers all ready to pull the trigger towards you. You probably just saved no few lives by throwing this Molotov cocktail.
By being a little gremlin.
Indeed.
Upon seeing that, I don't know who hears it, but Sam goes, whoosh.
Rue definitely hears it.
All right. Well, that's going to be Nick's turn.
Okay. And not that Nick would have a concept of this, but is Lane in any way 9 yards in front of him?
Far more than 9 yards.
Okay.
And quite a ways away.
So,
I have my own problems.
I'm going to use an improved psychic scream to further mess up the gentleman in front of us. From my perspective, it's just making a lot of noise with my mind. So they're probably learning about whatever I just learned from Dr. Dicepuk's class.
Just info dumping. That's amazing.
I love that you are psychically screaming the Bronze Age collapse at these guys.
Studying is important, kids.
I don't think this is how it works, but somewhere in my head, like Sam's version where they're all mice is also getting screamed at them.
I love Sam.
He loves you.
So the first thing you need to do... The first thing you need to do is that psychokinesis attack. So that's going to be the 2d6 plus your psychokinesis level of 5, and we're trying to roll under that. Or rather, sorry, you were trying to roll over their defense. My mistake.
Okay, so it's 2d6 plus 5 for my psychokinesis level, so I rolled a 7, a 5, and a 2. Plus 5, that's a 12.
12, okay. All right, and so then they're going to be debuffed for 4 rounds, it sounds like?
Mm-hmm. And by 4, I think.
Negative difficulty modifier and defense modifier. Yes, by 4 and for 5 turns, actually, so... Try to make a note of that. You also need to use 5 power points, get 5 overflow, and take 2 drain.
Okay, so 5 power points, 5 overflow, and take 2 drain.
Correct. Okay. So yeah, they are having a real bad time. They're on fire. They're learning about Mycenae, and they're not shooting any kids, which for them is a fail state, which tells you pretty much all you need to know about them. That leads us to Sam's turn.
All right, so I've got this skill called telekinetic disarm. What is not clear to me from the rulebook is whether I need to disarm one person at a time or if I can attempt to disarm a bunch of people in a single turn.
So I think you have to use this on one person at a time at level 3. I think you can disarm multiple people per turn at a higher
Gotcha,
level.
Okay.
Of TK disarm.
So how many total people are we dealing with again? How many?
3 in front of you, 5 way across the field towards the dorm, which is where you guys were.
Table talk is getting one gun away from one person worth a turn? Like, it seems... Yeah?
I mean, I'm a little boned.
Are they rifles?
They are bullpup rifles, yes.
Speaking as a California marshmallow, what is the significance
Yeah, I have
of
no
that?
idea.
They're small. They're compact. They have different ammo feeds so that they can be handled and stored very efficiently. They're light.
Gotcha. So the dudes who have been goofed up are the ones nearer us. Can I reach
Correct.
one of the ones closer to Lane with my disarm?
Question.
I really like California marshmallow as a counterpart to the California raisins.
Oh, the two genders.
These are the two genders, in fact.
So here is what it says for most telekinesis stuff is that it's within line of sight.
Cool then.
So I think that there is no range penalty.
So I'm going to try to disarm whichever gentleman is looking like most of a threat over my lane.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead and roll a telekinetic attack, which for you is going to be your 2d6 plus 3, your TK level.
Okay.
And try to beat this fellow's defense.
Whew. That's 2 6s plus 3 is a 15.
2 6s is always a success, as it happens. So yeah, you.
I'm just talking. You can't see this, dear listener, but I'm holding this up to show that I am not a liar. Sam is many things, but a liar is not one of them.
Okay, so the next thing is you must beat the holder in a will versus strength contest. So this is that contest roll we were talking about, when we were kind of reviewing the rules for this. This is 1d6 plus your will plus your TK bonus. So 1d6 plus 3 plus for you will is 8. I do not like this guy's chances of holding on to his weapon.
So whatever I roll plus 11, is that the deal? Okay.
I believe so.
I rolled a 5. So 16.
All right. Yeah, as it happens, that does the trick. This guy has this, sort of stubby, like burst fire tactical rifle pointed at your guidance counselor from across this field. Out of your curiosity, when you use your telekinesis, because you don't think of it as telekinesis, what are you doing physically? Are you just sort of like looking at it, or are you like gesturing?
I'm definitely I'm scowling. My eyes narrow, but I'm also I think I'm moving as though I'm lifting it with my hands. So in the case of hefting a rifle, I'm sort of I got my arms, I got my palms up out in front of me, and I'm like sort of hefting it up in front of me.
Gotcha. Your success here and just the law of being entertaining is pushing me toward these guys have like sling, like they go around one arm and their neck, like to sort of like let them drop the rifle if they need to and have it still be handy. So you yank this thing as though it was in your hands, and it kind of comes rapidly towards you. And the guy comes with it, pulled off of his feet, just like being dragged across the ground until the strap finally comes off of his arm about 15 feet from where he was standing, and the gun kind of doesn't come straight to you, but it comes flying in your general direction in kind of a high arc, well after your TK has stopped gripping.
For the record, Sam has no idea he didn't do this with his arms.
Right. Of course. And really, if you want to get technical about it, he did do this.
That's true.
Like
That's
gesture,
true.
Of yanking with his
Show
arms.
me the lie.
So, yeah. His arms were involved. It is true. Okay. Now it is the soldier's turn. So I'm going to roll the d6 of burning damage for the ones by you guys.
Go Rue.
It's very, very good.
That Rue laugh is my new notification sound.
Yes.
So yeah, they're like trying to like pat at themselves and shouting about like, shut up, oh my god, shut up, while they try to like stop, drop, and roll and get themselves like not burning anymore. They don't have an action. The two guys closest to the one who got pulled off of his feet are actually like trying to go retrieve him. They seem to be a little startled here. The
Are
other
there
two
attacks of opportunity in this system?
there are not.
Damn.
Unless I decide to fudge it. But in this case, you've still got two guns trained on you. And the guy on the right, yells to the guy on the left, "Drop him! I'm going after the ones over there," and starts taking off past you, and the other guy opens fire. So, your defense is... I've got this. 11. He is going to roll and try to beat that. I think he just misses. Yep, he just misses.
Better to be lucky than good.
Coming back around then to the top of the initiative order, Lane, you have just been shot at, and you're pretty close to the guy who did the shooting, and you have a scalpel in either hand.
And there's a guy who's running behind me to attack some of my charges.
It's true. And then two other guys who are going to help up their compatriot from where his gun decided to take him for a ride.
Yeah. How armored are these guys?
Basic. They're not full military gear, but they have some, kind of tactical armor. Not exactly like full riot gear, but like a bulletproof vest and maybe like a ballistic helmet.
So their throats are exposed.
Yeah, especially if they happen to be looking away from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus, buddy.
I'm a guidance counselor. I said I'm not good at my own.
Jesus, buddy.
Yeah, that's so 14.
Okay. Yeah, that hits. Now your weapons damage is interesting because I don't think you roll for scalpels. I think it just does
it's flat 12 damage.
Yeah. So scalpels are a special case. You don't quite get like a clean like throat cut, but you definitely you get up to this guy who just or I'm sorry, you going to get the guy who shot at you or the one who was trying to run past you toward your students?
Oh, the one who's trying to go after the kids.
Okay, so yeah, you actually kind of spin around and like catch up a little bit behind him. And so you're both moving pretty quickly. You don't get like a clean slice, but you definitely feel some of the neck meat give. And, there's some not arterial blood, but definitely just like some palpable kind of leaking and splashing over your hand as you draw this scalpel across the side.
I do wish our listeners could see Robin's face and my face right now.
Whereas this is what I've been preparing for since character generation.
Right.
I was not prepared for the phrase neck meat.
I mean, Lane is probably humming Sweeney Todd.
Lane would be a theater kid.
Swing your razor wide,
Lane is
guidance
absolutely
counselor.
a theater guy.
Subtlety is for cowards.
I kind of want that on a shirt now, but I feel like it might be a little on the nose. Maybe I could do like a Mabel sweater with like lights in it.
Is that our first like Dicepunk slogan?
Maybe
Subtlety
subtlety
for
for cowards. Indeed. I try not to be lurid for lurid's sake, but I do try to sell the weight of the action, so
Hence neck
Yeah,
meat.
neck meat.
hence neck meat.
Hence, neck meat's another
We
shirt
are still in
for
combat,
sure.
though.
We are still in combat. Fair point.
So it is Rue's turn.
Okay, I got another Molotov cocktail, so I think I know what I'm doing with it.
Yes, you do.
All right, so we're going to do the same thing where you roll speed instead of wits with explosives to huck that Molotov
I got an
cocktail,
8.
hit. So, yeah, you get to roll another 46 damage. Because they are not really watching for incoming Molotov cocktails at this point.
I have a, oh my god, math. So that's a 9 plus 6 is 15. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, 15.
I'm sorry. I should have said. I should have stayed in character and said I have absolutely no idea.
I love this himbo.
So do we all.
By the time you can see them again through the flames and through the smoke, they're all sprawled on the ground in the middle of this burning patch of sidewalk and grass, their clothes and armor on fire, and in fact, their ammunition in their weapons starting to discharge from the heat.
Oops.
GTFO, kids.
Yeah,
Maybe come help me.
this whole time, right, the three of you have been, engaging with this threat, and everybody else has been, in one way or another, sort of like panicking or cowering, and it sort of takes them a moment to figure out that, like, everything is, like, no longer immediately dangerous, although they are rather horrified by the, burning unconscious people in front of them. Dr. De Silva sort of like shakes her head and is like, okay, you three with me, everybody else, find some cover, hunker down, try to stay out of sight. We are going to gesture to you when it is clear to head to the dorm and hopefully to safety. If we need to, we can get behind the dorm and climb over the fence. And she just keeps on rattling off instructions as she tells everybody, and she sort of like heads towards you guys. There were a few shots that got off, just kind of at random, and then the ammo discharging from the weapons as they are heated up by the Molotov cocktail. Somewhat miraculously, nobody that wasn't holding one of those weapons seems to have been hit by one of those weapons. Dr. De Silva does immediately notice, though, that there is this other contingent of folks, and many of them are looking in your direction. So we have Nick's and Sam's turns here, after that little bit of an interstitial. While all of that is going on, what are you guys doing? Yeah.
Well, here's something Sam would know that I don't. Is there anybody in the class who Sam would trust to take care of Jake?
Well, the smartest, most upstanding people in your year are Nick and Vanessa.
Does Vanessa know first aid? That's real important.
Well, you can certainly ask her.
Hey, Vanessa, you know first aid? Can you take care of Jake? Dr. Sill seems to need me over here, so I just want to make sure Jake's taken care of, yeah?
Yeah, of course I know first aid. Yeah, I'll take care of him. It's no big deal.
You're real smart and real cool, and I like you a lot.
She gives you a dazzling smile and says, thanks, as she sort of moves to make sure that Jake is, like, kind of laying as still and flat as possible, but, like, not immediately in view, like, as soon as somebody comes out of the school building. You guys, by the way, this whole time can still hear gunfire from inside the school building.
Figured as much. I'm walking away and I'm saying, you and Nick should get along. He's real cool too. And I'm already on my way.
Yeah, you don't hear her reply at all. And if indeed there is one. Okay. And Nick, anything you decided to...
Yeah, so this is a bit of a gamble, but hey. So I'm going to use what the rule book refers to as the push, which can come in two forms, a trick or command. I can only use it on characters who make direct eye contact with me and who can understand what I'm saying. Okay. So I'm going to take a whiff of my inhaler, step forward. Whoop, I threw my pen across the room. Lovely.
Remember to tally your
This is like how many hits does an inhaler give you in real life? Do we have any idea?
Let me count mine. About 200.
Okay.
So, because I have 100.
It's got a counter on it. Yeah.
Nyx does not have a counter on it, but also Nick's been using this inhaler for a little while, so
Nick's gonna die. Anyway,
does that count as foreshadowing?
We will all die.
I think that actually counts as gambling.
Yeah. I put whatever coins I have in baseball currently are going towards that bet. So I step forward and shout as loud as I can after taking a whiff from my inhaler, Hey, only cowards shoot at kids. Why don't you pick on someone your own size? And make
right.
eye contact with whomever happens to be looking at me.
Okay, well, and yelling "hey" like that does up your odds for sure. So you're making an attack action against defense in this case. So that is your 2d6 plus your psychokinesis, which is 5. Is that right?
Correctamundo.
2d6 plus 5. All right.
2 3s. So that's a 6 plus 5. That's 11.
Okay. I think ties go to the defender, so I don't think it works. As fun and dramatic as that would have been, if you would like to start coughing at the end of your shout to set the mood, there you go.
I take another whiff out of my inhaler.
So the push itself doesn't seem to work, but you did get at least the ones closest to you's attention, and the guy who got pulled off his feet and is now gunless is shaking his head and brushing himself off and pointing in your direction kind of emphatically, and the two who helped him up have leveled weapons and started to sort of like tactical run across the field in your direction. It is their turn, so a couple of rolls here. They do actually start sort of opening fire as they run, but it is clearly more like suppressing fire. It is not really like closely aimed, just a couple of bursts apiece. So weirdly enough, even though everybody presumably sort of like reacts or like tries to, make sure that they present the smallest profile, nobody takes a hit. Nobody seems to even really get particularly close to getting hit. But the one that Lane knifed in the neck and the one that was shooting at him are both pretty cross. Fortunately for you, you're close enough to the guy's buddy that he's not shooting at you, but he is running up to approach you. So your defense is 11?
Correct.
Let's see. The guy who you knifed in the neck can't really collect himself well enough to do any sort of effective melee attack. He just sort of struggles and like pulls away and tries to turn around and also claps a hand to his neck, and I mean, kind of yells and screams. The other guy, though, does manage to land a blow. It's just with the butt of his rifle as he runs towards you, though. So you are going to take 6 non-lethal damage from that attack.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is a trained up strong boy, so a guidance counselor probably would not enjoy taking a rifle butt to the stomach very much.
Flip through the rule book about guidance counselor v trained up strong boy.
At this time, it is Lane's turn again, and now you have 2 targets in close melee range, if that is the direction you decide to go, or you could do something else.
I'm gonna like put my hand toward his face and have just like fireball come out of it.
All right. So that is going to be.
Did you assess the room size first?
Different fireball.
My dear friend Robin, fireballs are melee weapons.
This is fortunately not the D&D spell Fireball, which has quite a radius on it, but rather just a ball of fire. So this is going to be...
It is about the size of a small campfire coming at his face.
If rather hotter, I think.
Quite.
2d6 plus 3 attack roll?
Yep. That is a 9, so 12.
Okay. That does hit. So your damage here is going to be 3d6.
3d6. And that is also 9.
All right. So,
and he is ignited.
All right. Make a note of that.
And so that is a further... It doesn't actually tell me how many power points it is.
That is the level of or pyrokinesis you were using is the
okay.
power points.
Cool.
Unless otherwise stated. So if you're using 3 power points, 3 overflow.
So 3, and 1. Yeah.
1 drain. Yeah. All right. That goes to Rue. It's your turn.
I am also going to throw a fireball at somebody.
Your fireball, rather than like throwing it, you just sort of like bring it into being, but it trails a little bit behind the guy. It maybe singes him, but it doesn't really do the damage that you were looking for,
Dang
unfortunately. It. Looks pretty badass, though.
Gotta work on my aim.
To be fair, you don't have a whole lot of practice at this.
Do I have any indication that this comes from the kid behind me?
That is a good question. What I thought to ask Sam about this, but Nick's actions kind of implied their performance. But Rue, what are you doing when you are igniting this person or trying to?
I feel like I should probably like light a cherry bomb and throw it at them, but instead it is really a fireball.
So yeah, you were like, sort of doing like a gesture with your hands, like you were igniting something and then throwing.
No, right. no. I mean a literal like. I've got a lot of fireworks on
actually
me.
Lighting a cherry bomb.
You were also
throwing
a cherry
lighting
bomb.
and throwing a cherry bomb, and then when it explodes, it goes whoosh into sort of this bigger. All right, yeah, I like that.
So Sam hovers both hands by the side of his head and then shakes his head wildly and then chef's kisses both hands out like his mind is blown. This is the coolest thing he's ever seen.
Kid, I would usually advise against the use of fireworks as your reminder, but keep it up.
Thank you.
Dr. De Silva is really sort of flabbergasted by all of this, but trying to roll with it like really hard. Nick.
Yes.
Your turn.
I'm going to make eye contact or attempt to make eye contact with one of them and try for the push again.
All right,
and this time I'm going to shout, this is your last warning. As student council president, I strongly discourage the course of action that you're on.
I second the motion.
Why don't you hold each other accountable?
Oh, nerd.
I'm not on council, but I second the motion.
Oh, good. This time I got 7 plus 5. That's a 12.
Okay. The nearest soldier, armed man to you immediately comes to a halt. Like kicks up a cloud of sort of dust from the ground and sort of like rocks in place real quick, and one hand kind of like falls away from the gun as he sort of just stands there, and his comrade sort of like glances at him for a second, and then immediately zeroes in on you, Nick. Sam, your turn.
So that gun that I telekinetically disarmed, is that close enough that I could use TK Gunslinger and essentially wield that even though I'm not touching it?
I believe that if you were looking at where it fell, you could.
I'm real confident that Vanessa's going to do a great job. She's real smart and cool. So yeah, I use TK Gunslinger and I pick up that gun, wield it remotely, and train it on the remaining bad actors.
I love this golden retriever of a man.
Yes.
He is a golden retriever who moves like a man. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah, can I say it's already on its way to Nick, but also it's firing at the bad guys?
Sure. Yeah, so roll your 2d6 attack, and I think we're going to go with an untrained penalty here of -2.
Rolled a 6.
4. You lay down some suppressing fire. You're not like shooting through the windows of the school building. It's going in the direction of the guys, and they have to sort of like serpentine, but you're not particularly close to hitting them. And now it's the soldier's turn. So the one who still has his gun and hasn't been pushed to stand still is going to fire on Nick specifically, because he seems to have an inkling of what is actually going on with Nick. Nick's defense is 11. Does not meet it. So Nick dodges really cool, but then maybe sort of like stumbles on like the the doesn't stick the landing, but doesn't get shot either, which is great.
Which is
Nick.
important.
That is huge. I enjoy not getting
Sam thinks the
shot,
dodge
in
is
fact.
really cool
Right.
and thinks the stumble is just charming.
Yeah.
Aw.
I like how your characters are just successively in love with any, others of the PCs. It's
They're
dark.
You got to make love
They're
and
super
war,
wholesome.
Yeah. That would be a really good part of a valedictorian speech. Just saying.
Nick, I hate to break it to you, I don't think you're going to be valedictorian at this point.
Also, I'm going to point out this is definitely not in character. You guys are way too far apart.
I know.
I know.
As much for the listeners as anyone else, just to clarify.
Sam's thing, I truly just meant it's a
Yeah.
thing he thinks. Like, this is
Yeah.
Nick wouldn't know it.
Sure. Other soldiers, the disarmed one is heading towards the group of students, and also toward where he saw his gun fall. It's unclear if he saw Sam yank it or not. And then that leaves two for Lane to contend with. So the one who is bleeding from the neck is looking a little worse for wear. And
the other one is on fire.
Is on fire, correct. So
So he
the
takes
one...
speed check, or he takes 3d6 further fire damage.
Indeed. We're going to handle the one bleeding from the neck first.
Okay, sorry.
And so he is going to attack you. And he is going to critically fail. I will put these two ones
Oh,
up
wow.
on the camera for you guys. So he
Woo!
actually discharges his weapon while he is trying to wrangle it around, and doesn't like hit you or him, but it causes him to sort of fumble it, and he doesn't even get to make his attack. This other guy is going to do his
Can I
speed
say real
check.
quick, if I needed a metaphor for the year of our Lord 2020, it'd be being bleeding from the neck and then rolling a critical fail.
Gosh, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Or being on fire. I think the Molotov cocktail guys are the 2020
Yeah, no, I can see
representatives
all
here.
caps impact font labeling them, all of us during 2020.
we are still in combat though, and the guy who was on fire.
Thank you. Bless you for keeping us
did
on track. Please
pass
continue.
His speed check. I am usually the one taking us off the rails, so I'm trying to atone for my crimes. But he did pass his speed check. He's managed to sort of like pat out his burning like collar and stuff, although his face is definitely going to land him in a hospital if he makes it out of this alive. And he goes to draw a sort of military spec knife on Lane, whose defense is
11 still.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it straight in my head.
Yep.
And so yeah, he is going to be rolling some damage on that, but only 2. You
Okay.
get grazed by this knife, so 2. In this case, lethal damage.
Yep.
Back around to Lane.
How badly off is throat slit, dude? Well, throat cut, dude, not slit. Didn't
Neck
quite
meat
win.
man.
Neck meat man.
Not the superhero we need, but the superhero we deserve.
Neck meat man is on the upswing. He's definitely going to need medical attention, but for the duration of this fight, he is still in it.
Okay. Let's change that.
All right. In what manner are you going to change that?
I'll be consistent. Let's go for the other side of his neck.
All right. Roll your
His
blades.
neck meat.
So that is a 13.
All right, that does hit, doing 12 damage.
12 damage to, I'm sorry, what kind of meat?
God.
12 damage to his... I was going to try and do like a portmanteau of esophagus and sausage, and then I realized that it doesn't work.
A sausage?
Sausages.
That makes it somehow worse than neck meat.
Yeah.
But I
He
am
is
here
still
for
up
it.
at this time, but he is never going to be the same after this fight.
I don't feel like any of
For
us
sure.
will at this point.
I don't. I
That's
think there's
fair.
only so much damage that you can take to your esophagus sausage
Yeah.
and remain the same.
Fair enough. Yeah, he's definitely one of the worst days of his life so far. You feel sure.
Jesus, I would hope so.
Still on his feet, still able to think and react. Although he does now have sort of his wrists clapped to either side of his neck as he sort of like in your direction.
Disgusting.
Rue, your turn.
Okay, well, Rue is thriving in this chaos. And so is gonna do pretty much the same thing as last time, aiming their firework instead at the person who is firing at Nick or heading towards Nick.
All right. Go ahead and roll that pyrokinesis attack.
Okay, so that is then 12.
All right, this time it hits. I believe that's going to be 3d6
Yes.
ignite damage.
And that's gonna be 9.
All right. That's also going to harm, realistically, this chap's aim when it comes back around to him. But in the meantime, it is Nick's turn. And Nick, you find yourself in possession of a rifle now.
Excellent.
I'm gonna say I give you a big thumbs up
Courtesy
as you
of
catch it.
Samson.
And I grin widely at you with a wink and say, "Thanks, Sammy."
I return the wink.
All right.
So I'm going to aim down my sights at whoever is the most pressing risk at this point.
Fair enough. Probably the one who was shooting at you previously. The other guy is still standing there looking kind of stunned, and the other not stunned guy does not currently have a weapon in hand, although he does seem to be going for a sidearm, though that will still not make him as dangerous as the fellow with the rifle. So,
Have to
go ahead
roll
and
under
roll your
8.
rifles.
Yes. So that's going to
You're
be...
adding. You're not rolling under. There's a combat. There's an attack.
Okay.
So 2d6 plus your bonus to rifles, which you are trained in, which means it's a 0 bonus. So just your straight rifles.
I got a 5 and a 1,
2d6
which
roll.
is a 6.
6. All right. So the guy who was shooting at you does have a penalty to his defense because he is on fire. But not quite enough of a penalty to his defense for you to hit. In this case, you do get him to throw himself to the ground, though, when he realizes he's under fire. That makes it Sam's turn.
Is there sort of a clear line of sight where I could knock one of these people into one of these other people with sort of a telekinetic push?
Well, I can tell you what would be the easiest from a mechanical perspective is taking the guy who is standing stock still and throwing him into the guy who is currently reaching.
Yeah, I'm
for
gonna
the
do
sidearm. Would probably be the
Let
easiest.
me do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Okay, so
needless to
I'm
say, I
going
draw
to
my arm
navigate.
back like I'm going to throw a mighty, right hook.
Technically, grabbing other characters with telekinesis is a telekinesis level 4 thing.
Yeah, no, so like I can't pick someone up. I can't pick up people, even though I can pick up
Right.
a heavy object. But I can push,
You can use,
right?
Yeah, you can push, and I think you can probably push to try and push this still guy into this other moving guy. So
Congrats, buddy. You're a projectile now.
make a telekinesis
Okay.
attack, which is 2d6 plus 3 for you.
That is a 10 plus 3 is 13.
All right, that's a hit. So that's going to be 3d6 damage.
Grab a third d6 here. Oop, almost dropped it.
You good?
That is a 6, a 5, and a 2, which would be 13 again.
Okay.
Or-
This guy Standing still, looks like the hand of God just slapped him right in the chest. And he goes like, boom, back arches out, and he, hands and feet fly out behind him as he moves all the way to sort of tumble into the grass of this field right underneath the feet of the sort of seeming leader of this contingent, who is going for his sidearm, and he sort of tumbles into like a messy fall, not having seen this coming. So he doesn't seem to be hurt. The guy who pushed did. The guy who fell doesn't seem to be hurt, but he is like prone.
I will say I look for all the world like an anime. I follow through the right hook with like a flex. My fist is up there. I'm smiling. I'm pretty happy about that.
I kind of glance over and go, Sammy, and make it 2 very distinct syllables.
Wonderful.
Flexing intensifies.
So that brings it to the soldiers. So we got the guy who is currently on fire in the field needs to roll his speed check. He does get it, and so he is rolled until he is no longer on fire, and he is going to take a shot, this time at Rue, because, believe it or not, he did not like getting set on fire. It was not his favorite thing.
Rude.
People are so fussy these days.
He does miss.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize you guys all have reasonably high defense, except I guess for Sam is a little bit lower.
It's the guy with a glass cannon written on his forehead. Yeah.
I probably should have made these guys better shots, but after I killed Gun Sephiroth in the one shot, I wanted to err on the side of caution.
You also said how many men was it after us?
The world was never meant for one as beautiful as Gun Sephiroth. You did send a lot of people after us in that test episode. I think you learned about...
Yeah, that was definitely me finding out how efficacious psychic abilities could be against armed personnel. Okay, so the guy who fell gets back up. The guy who was standing still also gets up, although much more slowly and with less sort of confidence. And that leaves the 2 over by Lane. There's the guy with 2 cuts in his neck meat, and the one who has a pretty badly burned face. They are both going to attack you. One with a rifle butt and one with a knife. The rifle butt misses. The knife, just barely misses. Yeah, you are dancing around these strikes here, and now it's your turn again.
Good. More fire.
Does not drop the knife. Probably can't anymore. At least until he seeks medical attention. But still in the fight, roughly speaking.
So I think Sam definitely notices this since there were some common targets, and he goes, Mr. Drummond!
Excellent.
Nick rallies the call.
Voice cracks a little bit, starts coughing. I think that's Rue.
Okay, well, I have had a frag grenade that I've been saving for a rainy day.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to actually editorialize that. You notice a frag grenade that has come loose from the tactical gear of the guys you burned earlier.
Yeah.
And hasn't cooked off yet.
Yeah.
And hasn't cooked off yet. Yeah, it rolled away from the fire before it could be, dangerously hot.
So I would like to throw that.
Very well. We're going to treat it the same as the Molotov cocktail in terms of your roll. So you're going to combine your explosives skill with your speed stat.
Okay, and so I rolled a 5.
Okay, so that's going to be plus 4
4
in this case, I believe.
It's a 9.
It's a 9. Okay. So this is where I have to navigate in the rulebook to where it describes what happens when somebody throws a
133.
grenade. Yeah, I will say if anybody is considering
chapter and verse,
it does.
If anyone is considering buying this game, the PDF is extremely well bookmarked.
Oh my God,
it's very easy to navigate. It's been
it's also real purty.
Yeah.
Every yard away, they take 2d6 less damage. Okay, so these guys are going to take 4d6
Okay,
damage.
my aim was a little off. Gotta work on that.
Okay, so I want to just set the scene here. While all this is going on, this little gremlin scampers over to a fallen fragmentation grenade, picks it up and looks at it with a big smile, and then pulls the pin. And with that sound, hucks it at these two guys who are just getting up, and it lands like maybe 10 feet away from them at most. And they both go, huh? And then there is an almighty bang. Just this huge explosion.
Yes. That's it's only a 13, but still, that's a 13.
I wheeze and I go, "You're crazy cool, kid. Crazy cool."
I'm shielding my eyes, and not too long after saying Mr. Drummond, I go, soup. I mean sauce. Roo, and I'm real excited about that.
Rue just.
It turns out, as the ones that you took down earlier with the Molotov cocktails are sort of smoldering to inertness, there are more frag grenades that are still intact on their person. For those at home...
Christmas came early.
For those at home, there are a total of, including the one just thrown, 8 frag grenades on the scene. The way that equipment works in this game sort of assumes that you have sort of like backing for equipment, or else are, sort of in some sort of paramilitary situation and not just at a normal day at school. And you basically, based on your skills, get to pick equipment that goes with them. So when Joanne decided that Rue had a master rank explosive skill, she picked 8 frag grenades for them to have as their accompanying items, but it didn't make sense for this gremlin to just have access to frag grenades, and so I have a small list of things that were equipment picks for our characters that they wouldn't necessarily have on them at school that I am going to be trying to work in.
I want to clarify for you. When I put that 8 next to frag grenade, I was actually typing 8d6 and never finished typing 8d6. So I only had 1 frag grenade, which was our
I'm sorry.
Because it's like 3 picks. It's a lot.
Teacher, you forgot to assign us homework.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no. I am the nerd.
You are the nerd.
You are the nerd, but Rue is not. I mean, we are recording a tabletop role-playing podcast. We are all the nerd.
I embrace this title and welcome it.
Go ahead. It only makes me stronger.
I will split the difference here then. Thank you for letting me know that you don't have 7 more frag grenades, but you will have 1 more frag grenade.
Yes.
You're just throwing them like the Hammer Brothers in my head. Just like...
Already, though, everybody's ears are ringing. Some of the windows, sort of like bowed and like are warped in their frames now. And the 2 guys that were closest to it have just gotten up, get blown off their feet, and when they do manage to stand back up on their own turn, are going to be like riddled with shrapnel wounds. This was no joke. This grenade. Nick, your turn.
Once again, I'm just gonna fire at whoever seems to be the most pressing threat at this point, particularly any who are targeting Rue.
Well, that's going to be pretty much everybody now, but they haven't had their turn yet. The guy that she set on fire previously is probably the most able to dish out damage this turn. He is in a defensive sort of prone position, so he's going to be a little hard to hit, but you can certainly keep his mobility and concentration limited.
Okay. I will shoot at him with the rifle, and remind me and our listeners again what I'm supposed to roll.
2d6, add your rifle bonus, which I believe is just 0 here.
Yes,
it's just trained.
Because it's trained. Whew, I got a 5 and a 4, so 9.
9, all right. that gets close. You can see the kind of dirt come up where you hit, and he kind of recoils from the impacts, but you don't think you actually scored a wound at all.
I can't believe I'm shooting at people.
Good job, nerd.
Against all odds, Dr. De Silva hears you and goes, "Me neither, but keep it up."
You're doing a real good job.
Sam, your turn.
Well, I say that Nick's doing a real good job. Then,
The free action.
You see me flush.
I'm trying to think what in my toolbox I haven't used. I haven't had occasion to use my barrier. I do have like the ability to deflect an attack, but nobody's getting near us because we're incredible.
Yeah.
Dez is waving.
Like I said, nobody's getting attacked at all.
Not as cool. We have to look out for our faculty and fellow students.
You're very right. You're very right. Okay, so I'm sorry to keep asking you to reconvey the scene, but how many threats are we dealing with currently?
Okay, so there's the one that Nick just shot at, who is going to be able to fire this turn. There are the two that Rue knocked off their feet with a frag grenade, who are going to be able to do very little their next turn. And then there are the two who are unsuccessfully trying to murder Lane in close combat.
Okay, so the one who could fire this turn, I TK disarm.
All right. I believe...
Let me just say this correctly. I lift his gun.
So TK disarm, I believe, is a telekinesis attack.
This time, my motion is like I'm powerlifting. I'm kind of like, ugh. All right.
Wonderful.
Not a great roll. That's a 5 plus 3 is 8.
Does not land, so you don't need to roll the contest there. I should also be saying power points overflow drain damage, and if you aren't using a psionic ability in a turn, you do get one overflow like off of your build up. So you guys may be able to sort of retroactively take those off.
We didn't actually talk about the cost of push. Should I have been adding some overflow and taking some power points from that?
Oh yeah, it would have been a level 3. So 3,
Cool.
1, and 3. So missed on the disarm. Now it's the soldiers. The two guys who got knocked off their feet by the frag grenade are getting back up. The one that Nick shot at is going to return fire. Actually going to shoot at Rue now that I'm thinking about it. And miss. Man, I really did need to give these guys a better rifle skill.
I tried, Rue.
And that leaves the two that are attacking Lane. Mr. Neckmeat, unsurprisingly, does not roll high enough to hit. And then the guy
Speed
with the
test
knife,
for...
perhaps fused to his hand, makes his speed test handily. And your defense is 11.
Yep.
Tie goes to the defender. He is not able to stab you.
I deflect it with my scalpel.
Very, very good. Okay. And it's back to your turn.
He really needs to just not. So more with the fire to the face. Like it's been working so far.
Seems to have been.
That is a 12.
All right. Roll your ignite damage.
That is a 13.
When you pull your hand away and the flame goes out, he wavers for a moment, gasps some smoke out of his mouth and nose, and then collapses.
Oh my god.
To the sidewalk.
Beautiful. A
Nice.
true work of art.
Terrifying.
As all guidance counselors should be. I mean...
You talked to me a lot about colleges and my Future Farmers of America stuff, and they roasted a guy.
It was in your defense, children. And mine.
Simultaneously, as Lane is taking his turn, one of the K through 6 buildings, classroom walls, bursts outward, bricks and window seating flying everywhere, along with seemingly a number of students and another 4 of these military gear guys in their black uniforms. Everybody who came flying out ragdolls and stays exactly where they landed. That's Rue's turn.
Okay, well, Rue has spotted another frag grenade. And if you think that they are not going to grab it and pull the pin and throw it, you are sorely mistaken.
I don't know what podcast you've been listening to then.
It hasn't been Dicepunks.
All right. Rue, go ahead and
That's
roll
an
your attack.
11. Right? Because it's +4? Yeah, okay.
+4,
That's an 11.
So this is interesting because tie goes to the defender, but you are using an area effect weapon. So I think it's going to do 66 damage instead of 86 damage. It's going to be the
1 stage down.
1 stage down.
Oh my god. Oh, there's so many dice to count. Okay, well that's 12.
one.
Oh god. That's another 6 and another 6. That's 24.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, let me look at what they already had in terms of damage.
That would be enough to take me out.
Yeah,
from
me
full.
too.
Yeah. Okay, so these 2 guys just got back to their feet, and the guy who's kind of the point man on this squad, who came out of the dorm, had sort of unslung his sidearm, and then this grenade lands, and it lands right at their feet, but they dive to get out of the way. And while they are in midair, it explodes, and when the dirt clears from the explosion, you don't see where they went. Like it is
Chunky salsa.
The chunkiest and spiciest of salsa.
We're going to take a quick pause
My
and get a
favorite.
word from one of our great sponsors. Old
this
El
episode brought to you
Paso.
by Rotel.
Is it chunky salsa or is it fine red mist?
It is neither, actually. They just were flung far away, and not all in one piece. But yeah, it is not quite either of those things. In any case, congratulations. You have now killed 5 people in your first
Incredible.
combat.
Yeah, out of the 8 people, you've killed 5. I've killed 1 after much more effort.
You know, Rue just loves explosives.
It's true. That makes it Nick's turn. The against all odds, Mr. Neckmeat is still standing, and the one that you shot at last round is still prone in sort of a shooting position.
How close is the prone one to me?
Call it half a Walmart parking lot.
Still half a Walmart. Okay. Do I have his attention at least?
Oh yeah, you've been shooting at him.
Okay. I'm gonna do. Okay. First and foremost, I have not been keeping track of my overflow. It's been 2 turns since I've used any of my abilities. Does that reduce my overflow meter?
By 2.
By
Yeah.
2. Okay. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and account for that. I'm going to do a push on the prone one, making eye contact. I'm just going to yell, "You should especially be ashamed of yourself. Go and shoot someone your own size instead." Like,
Gotcha.
like those in your unit.
Sam is briefly self-conscious.
Oh.
I
what
kind
it's
of
worth, Sam is
immediately
bigger than any
kind
of
of
these
glanced. Yeah, that's true. Sam is larger, so all right. I would have kind of glanced in Sam's direction and added the addendum, just for good measure.
He appreciates it, but he's looking at you with puppy dog eyes.
Roll your psi attack against this guy's defense.
I got 14.
All right. Yeah. He sort of rocks for a second and then stands up and walks over toward, in no particular hurry, toward the guy who got burninated, and just sort of shoulders his weapon, shoots the dead guy in the head, and then turns to face Mr. Neckmeat, but does not have another action to use this turn.
So we got that guy and we got Mr. Neckmeat right next to each other. Is that it at this point, as far as people who are not smoldering piles and or unaccounted? All right.
Mr. Neckmeat is very close to Mr. Drummond, and the other guy is maybe about 15 feet away.
All right. Are there big pieces of wall from that wall explosion, or is it just all? All right. So I'm gonna lift one of those and throw it at those two guys.
Okay. Awesome.
Please don't throw it at me.
First thing I'm gonna do is yell, Mr. Drummond, you might want to get back.
Boy. Okay, so let's see.
Mr.
Roll
Drummond, protect your head.
level 3 TK attack.
So that is...
So it's 3 power points, 1 overflow, 3 power points, 1 drain, 3 overflow, and then you're going to roll 2d6 plus 3. I'm getting the hang of it.
6 plus 3 is 9.
Okay. That's actually a good question. I don't think it's going to hit. I think it's going to fly a little bit wide. Because he's not really reacting. He's under the influence of Nick's push. He's not really reacting at full speed, but I think it still is a tie. If my
By wide, you don't
correct,
mean where Mr. Drummond is, right?
No, it just slams into the wall of the dorm.
Could have been worse. Bad rolls these last 2 turns.
If you had critically failed that, I might have considered having it be friendly fire, but honestly, it had been a lot of damage. I probably just would have had it. This is the best any one of these guys has rolled on a firearm attack roll at all evening.
I cannot read
It's a
that.
4 and a 5 for our listeners. Is that right?
9. And that goes up to 11, which is still a tie going to the defender. In any case,
was he shooting at me or at Mr. Meat?
Mr. Neckmeat, although functionally he could reasonably have hit either of you. You're pretty close together. And that brings back around to Lane's turn.
Mr. Neckmeat's gotta go.
He does. He's got to go.
More knives.
It's like a really good name for like a grindhouse film. Mr. Neckmeat's gotta go.
Yeah. More or less the Kingpin.
Yeah, pretty
frankly.
much.
That is, again, a 12.
All right. And you have gotten
12
either side of
damage.
his neck. This time you get the front of his neck, and it's over. And he goes down. Now you have that arterial spray, although a little bit less so because of all the blood he's already lost. And falls over backwards. And suddenly the courtyard is much quieter. That classroom that blew out, no sign of activity. Just people laying scattered in the classroom and on the courtyard, some of them smoldering, some of them in more than one piece. Dr. De Silva finally just sort of goes, okay, they looked like they came out of the dorm, so I think we're going to head just to the back fence and try to go over it and head to a farmhouse. So everybody, wide berth from the gym, head to the back corner. We're going to go all as a group. Keep your eyes out. Make sure that, you don't see any sign of hostile activity. And she turns to Vanessa and says, I need you to take these kids with you. I need you to make sure that they get out. We have to call or radio for help or something, because I don't know what's going on, but this is not just a normal emergency.
Help is on the way.
As you sort of jog up to this little group, congratulations, we finally got the whole party together in one one group.
Achievement unlocked.
Help. Well, I believe you, Mr. Drummond. Let's is there somewhere safe we can go? Real quick. I got this. I got to make a roll. As soon as she says, is there anywhere safe I can go? Her eyes widen and she goes, get down! And like throws herself toward Rue and Nick to like knock you guys to the ground. And now I just need a speed check from everybody. So that's 2d6. Try to roll under your speed stat.
I failed miserably. I have a speed of 4 and
Yeah,
I
I rolled
a 10.
an 8 and my speed is 6.
5.
I rolled a 6 and my speed is 4.
Okay, so 3 failures there. Okay, let me make this roll.
You could have phrased that in a more gentle fashion.
Welcome to Dicepunks. We got 3 failures here today.
All right, so Dr. De Silva yells, "Get down!" and like tackles toward Rue and Nick. Sam, you kind of flail a little bit and look around, and then finally like kind of fall over into a seated position. Whereas Lane, you just like dive and cover. And there is the loud sound of a precision rifle shot from a little ways away, and it doesn't arrive until after Dr. De Silva has already slumped to the ground, one of her eyes replaced by an exit wound. And dear listeners, on that tragic note ends part 1 of Dicepunk's episode 0. Head over to part 2 for the presumably thrilling conclusion to Sam, Nick, Rue, and Lane's worst school day ever. Some surprise recording complications. And episode 0 of our Dice Peaks After Show. Hereafter available only to backers of our Patreon. The songs in this episode, theme of the Dicepunks and Cliffhammer Fanfare, were written and recorded by our very own Samson Stryker, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who played the inveterate gremlin, Rue. Site design and graphics for Dicepunks.com is by Robin, player of valedictorian to be Nick Noble. Psionics and the Dicepunk engine it runs on were created by Devin Oritz, whose work can be found in several places around the web, including Patreon at patreon.com/dragonsandungeons. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, well, that's reward enough on its own, really, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks After Show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.